Hey y'all, Way here. Today I wanted to give a brief breakdown of the process of transmutation. This is something I get asked about fairly regularly, and it's a very simple process, something that I believe and know everyone can benefit from because it has to do with something everyone, to one degree or another, struggles with or faces, and that is emotions and emotional processing. And it's something that as humans, as a species in general, I believe we are ill-equipped to teach, to deal with. And it's a sad thing, but it just is what it is. And when I learned this process, I was so amazed at how simple it is and how rare that it actually is, because it's so simple yet so underutilized and so efficient and effective. And it is what it is. So I'm not going to go into, try not to get sucked into too many tangents, and just be straightforward about what the process is. So like I said, it has to do with emotional processing, um, energetic processing. I use those terms, energy and emotion, in regards to this. I'll use them somewhat interchangeably, maybe. Well, I will in this talk, but that's not really relevant, because with the emotion itself, when I say emotion, there's an actual energetic sensation behind it, a feeling, something that's going on in the body. So when I use it that way, when I say, emotion or energy, that's what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the actual physical sensation, not necessarily the label of a specific emotion. It's more of a generic term in regards to that, overall, an energy, a sensation, a feeling. And in regards to this, for this explanation, I'm going to use them possibly. I'm definitely going to use them interchangeably unless I specify. So don't get too caught up in that if I'm just throwing them around loosely for now. So an emotion, when something happens, whether it's a thought, because an emotion doesn't have to be caused by a situation. I can be sitting here thinking something pops into my mind from years back, and all of a sudden I'm feeling guilty, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling fearful, I'm feeling jealous, whatever the case is. You know, there can be a situation that just occurred, or there can just be a thought that just occurred. That doesn't really matter. What matters is that there's a feeling in the body. There's an actual sensation that I'm going to say, accompanies that, even though from a higher perspective, that's not actually the case. Actually, the emotion or the energy precedes the thought, though we often don't see it that way. We see the situation or the thought as causing the emotion. And somewhat in the beginning, that's irrelevant. So I'm not going to go into a whole lot. I'm not going to go into any more explanation on that for right now, actually, because like I said in the beginning, to learn the technique, somewhat irrelevant to start out. So, feeling the energy, the sensation, is something we're not specifically trained to do. That may sound stupid, because we might be like, well, what do you mean? Of course I feel the sensation. Of course I feel the discomfort. Of course I feel, the anger, the fear, the sadness. Yes, to a degree. But if under honest investigation, you'll realize that, like, you'll likely have been caught up in the thought behind it for a while, like while it's the feeling's been there. And we're typically trying not, we don't want to feel the feeling. And so we're trying to think our way out of it. Like, why is this here? Or we're just, really perpetuating the feeling by getting just sucked more into whatever. Oh, whatever. And that's irrelevant too. It doesn't matter, because both are essentially fueling it. Both are throwing fuel to that fire. And so it's reconditioning, and taking the awareness off of this and putting the awareness on the actual feeling itself, the sensation itself. And that sensation will seem to be localized somewhere in the body, somewhere in the physical, whether it's in the, the chest or the solar plexus area, whether it's down, in the gut region, whether it's in like the limbs, like a tingling or a just anxious, excitement, kind of vibratory sensation. There's a physical sensation that is there. And sometimes we're very ill-equipped and undisciplined to discern that and to recognize its presence. And that's fine. We can just oftentimes, like I said, we're preoccupied on that mental level. We're caught up there. And so it's that reconditioning, just letting that be and taking the awareness. Now, depending on that term gets, what do I mean when I say awareness? It's really very simple. When I say awareness, I mean what you're giving your attention to, what you're focusing on. So you take your awareness, your focus, your attention, consciously, you make an effort, because very much so in the beginning, it's going to seem like a conscious effort that has to be done, has to be tried for, to get out of this habitual way of just being sucked up here. So I take my attention from that, from the mental aspect, and focus on the sensation itself, the physical sensation in the body. What do you do from there? All right, well, that's that's where the simplicity of it is stunning. Nothing. What do you mean when I say nothing? What do I mean nothing? You do nothing. Your attention stays on the physical sensation. You hold it, be with it, allow it, while having the attention, the awareness on the sensation. Just allow it to be there. And what do you mean? What do you mean allow it to be there? We don't want this to be here. We're trying to get rid of this. Yeah, understood. I very much understand. So it's getting, and this is where some difficulty arises, because we're trained to not want to feel certain emotions. We don't want to feel this way. We don't want this to be here. This is bad. This shouldn't, I shouldn't be feeling this way. And it's somewhat coming into a different, recognition of not getting sucked into the emotion, not becoming it, not allowing it to take over. And so we can kind of impartially just like witness the feeling itself being there and not act out from that emotion. You'll find that, with maybe not initially, but certainly do have the capacity initially to do it, that you can still continue on with life, continue to do things while, this emotion is there. And you'll find that to some degree, this has been done already, though unconsciously. I mean, if you're a professional or, somewhat of an adult, you'll find that at times you have frustrations or anger or fear present during conversations with people, and you're not acting from that. It's there and it's present, but you're not like, sometimes you may be sucked into it, and it may seem to be more detrimental than others. But to some degree, you'll already see that the capacity to continue and to act while that's there is not hindered by it being there the way it was thought to be. And so you can impartially just kind of hold it, allow that feeling to be there. And what'll happen is the sensation can't perpetuate in that state. It can't last. It's not infinite. It has a limited duration and time frame for its survival, for it to be there. And when you're not feeling it with the thoughts, or when you're not acting out from it, it doesn't have the capacity to burn, to last, to stay, to linger for as long as it would have if you were fueling it with the actions or with the thoughts. And so what's happened is, as the attention, the conscious awareness is cast onto the emotion, it's burning out. It's burning out. And as it burns out, it'll reach a certain point, a threshold point, if you will, to where it just kind of dissipates. And there may or may not be some sort of recognition of a release, kind of that tension, easing off, that discomfort, kind of just falling away, and back into an ease or a peace or a more comfortable state. And this can be very profound. I know for here, when it was first seen, it was like, wow, that wasn't that hard. That wasn't hard. That was very easy, very simple. It was like, how have I not been doing this? How have I not known about this? And a lot of people do not. It's because it's so simple. And even now, hearing it, you may be like, well, I do that, or that can't work, or whatever. And the mind is very much in the beginning. It's not going to, those thoughts that accompany the emotion, they're not really, they're not really going to go quietly into the night. And they don't want you to do this, because they're trying, the energy itself is trying to perpetuate, the feeling is trying to stay there, it's trying to linger, it wants to express, it wants to. And this may or may not sound abstract, but under some investigation you can see, when I say things like it wants, like, what do I mean? And you might be thinking, oh, you mean the feeling's alive, or whatever. And under some investigation, you can see that there's an aspect of that energy, that emotion, that wants that it's trying to take on a life of its own, for sure. And that can just be witnessed, and it doesn't have to get made into kind of like a mystical, metaphysical type of thing. It's not really super relevant to get into all that, but just observe and see. It does have that tendency, it does have that pull, it does have that desire, if you will. And that's fine. It's not, it doesn't have to be made into a thing. It's just it is what it is. And I can allow that, I can witness that emotion without getting sucked into it, without becoming it, without acting out of it. It can be there, however uncomfortable it may or may not be. It's not unbearable, it's not unholdable, it's not unallowable for me to just sit with it and be with it momentarily, or however long it takes, because sometimes some last longer than others. I'm not going to kid you and tell you otherwise. It may take 15 seconds, it might take 30 seconds, might take 2 minutes, might take 5 minutes, it might take a couple days. Initially, it's probably going to be some smaller ones that are going to get caught and recognized, and possibly, I don't want to say that for certain, because you might strike deep. But so the process is the same, though, and that's irrelevant. The time frame, however big of a rock you strike, it's got to be processed out all the same. And you can't just push it away or want it not to be there, because at some point in time it's coming back up. That's the understanding, is that it's here to be processed out, it's here to be allowed, it's here to be faced and resolved. And so doing that and allowing it to be there, then processing it intelligently is of the utmost importance, and service to yourself and service to society. I'm not going to get into a big explanation of that as how it impacts society, but on a basic level, you can think that just as simply as this, that when you're not acting out from emotions and from fear or anger or whatever, everybody benefits from that. That's a very simple, pragmatic understanding. Like, me being less reactive and responsive from negative emotions is beneficial to all of humanity, not just myself. So that's a very simple, pragmatic breakdown and understanding. Yeah, so the process, very simple. Just hold the energetic sensation, the energetic emotion, and just allow it, hold it, and keep doing that until it dissipates. big, small. Initially, you'll probably, recognize one after you've already got, you've already been sucked up here and caught up here, and maybe even acted out on it, told some people what you really thought, or, how they say, or what the emotion really thought. And, went, got sucked up into that initially, and then you recognize like, oh wait, it's here. All right, let me try this now. That's fine. You can only do it when you recognize it. So you have to work with where you're at when you realize that you're there, when you become conscious of it. And so whenever that is, it's the process is the same, and it may be layered because then there may be like some guilt on top. Oh, I failed, and okay, then that's fine. That's included, and it's really that simple. You just hold it, allow it, witness it, observe it. Don't get sucked back into the story of like, oh, am I doing it right? And that can all be that's fine. That can be there and probably will be there to some degree. That narrative of like, am I doing it right? Is this working? Da 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 da. Whatever. Fine. Just keep going. Be with it. Allow it. Hold it, and see what happens. Hold it to the end and just watch, and then continue to do that repetitively. Like I said, it works for the big ones, it works for the small ones, it works with the short ones, it works with the long ones. The process is the same, transmutation. And it's very basic. That was a very rudimentary entry, uh, elementary level understanding, because there are varying degrees of doing it, allowing it, not trying to resist it, not trying to get it away. There's varying other like subtle dynamics that go on that aren't as efficient, but we're not going to go into all that for today. Like I said, this is just an entry level understanding of the application, the process, the technique itself. So try it. See what happens when you just hold it, when you allow the emotion, when you witness it, when you observe it, and when you don't become it or identify with it. Okay, that's an important part too. This is not, it's not my it's not me. It's just there. It's there. It's there. It's not my emotion. It's not me doing something wrong. It's not. It just is what it is. It's a physical sensation that's there, that's present, that's coming for processing, and it's that simple. And so process it, allow it, and see what happens. All right. Give it a shot. You can comment and share your experience and ask questions if you have any, and I'll be glad to respond. So thank y'all. Have a good day.